Welcome, everybody. This is the Fantasy Formula Live, and we're getting you ready for the Italian Grand Prix. Only two of us to start the show. Terry's running a few minutes late, but it sounds like he'll be joining us throughout the hour here just to add to some of the chaos as we try to see where we go from these triple McLaren and Aston Martin builds as we get ready for another busy and hectic weekend. Zach, what is your first thought as you try to pivot away from Aston Martin?
Well, it was straight away just trying to figure out if Williams is doable. But I guess it now comes down to budget and where everyone's sitting, and that is crucial to it because there are going to be a few -10s in there. There's going to be a few wild cards being used as well, and I think it's going to be very 50-50, maybe even 33 between people using Williams teams, people going back to the Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari teams, and then people also going to 4A teams with McLaren and Ferrari.
I think this is going to be a common theme throughout the hour as we're reviewing lineups, as we tell you about our lineups too. A big theme is going to be, are you aiming for points? Are you aiming for cost cap gains or a combination of the two? And also fast forwarding ahead to Baku, a circuit that's very similar to what we're going to have this weekend in Monza. How do you make those transfers work so you're not taking -10s on both weekends? Looks like we've got a lot of our friends already loading up in the chat. Hi, Yusuf. Hope you're doing well. I think Zach and I are hanging in there, but we're starting to get a little stressed out.
As per usual, then.
Hamad wants to know in the chat, what team would you go for with Limitless this week? Now, Zach and I, if you saw our midseason, our preview for the second half, we really like Limitless for this race because it's a low DNF circuit. It's a low overtake circuit. And so, Zach, let's think out loud on this. I'm thinking triple Ferrari, triple McLaren.
Yeah.
You don't like Lewis, maybe you get into Max as that fifth driver.
That's where my head is. I think my team for this was triple McLaren, triple Ferrari, Verstappen. And I'm still happy to do that. Still haven't really seen anything from Mercedes enough to drive me that other way. Hamilton with that five-place grid penalty, worth the risk just to see what can happen. But then it actually comes down to who do you want the differential one? Not the differential, the two times, I mean, because there's so many differentials. Like, you could just play it normal and just go Piastri 2 times. But then you could go Norris 2 times, going off the practice sessions. However, we know what those practice sessions can be like for Norris, and then he buckles under the pressure in quali. And then you've also got Charles Leclerc potential of getting that driver of the day. So there's like 3 big drivers I'd say you could put the 2 times on, and it depends how risky you want to go.
Whatever you do, go with the opposite of what Zach and I say, because we've had Lando on our team twice this season, and he's DNF both times. So we don't have the right touch for him quite yet. So, Zach, let's dive into these free practice 3 classifications because it started to look pretty normal again at the top of the grid. You could see McLaren is now back in P1 and P3. It looks like they're looking really sharp as we get into the qualifying session. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton continuing their stretch from FP1 and FP2. It looks like they'll both be a shout to get into the top 10 this weekend. This is big for the Ferrari constructor because if they can do the little things, put both drivers into Q3, get the fastest pit stop, that's going to give them a big safe floor compared to these tier B constructors that we were tinkering with last week.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Ferrari potential, especially in quali, like, because I've just have this crazy prediction in my head as well, where I have this feeling Leclerc's going to be on pole purely for the fact that McLarens aren't going to be working together, and if it's that close, all Leclerc needs is some nasty toe from Hamilton along the straight to start the lap, and potentially that's the 10th or 2 he needs to beat a McLaren. It's going to get very close.
I want to put a big exclamation point on that one, Zach, because Ruth Buscom, she has a newsletter that comes out every week. It's one of the best pieces of information you can get leading up to the qualifying session. She was talking about the concept of a tow mule, exactly what you said. If you have a teammate on a penalty, he could tow his teammate, and that could be up to 3/10 of a benefit if done perfectly. We saw this in 2021 with Perez towing Verstappen. It was 2022 with Sainz towing Leclerc. It works really effectively. You could see Leclerc on merit all the way up at P2 and FP3. So a good tow from Hamilton in Q3 could see Charles Leclerc challenge for pole. All right, now as we just go down a little bit more on the FP3 classification, Interesting that both Saubers are contending for points here. Bortoletto all the way up at 6th, Hulkenberg P11. You'll see in a moment when I flip over to the betting lines that both of them are on the fringe of points. So if you're looking for some tier B drivers to round out your team, you could look at some Saubers. And then as hot as Williams were heading into the weekend in the first sessions, they're just at the bottom and just outside of the top 10 in P10 and P13. So it's going to be a very common question throughout the course of the show. They're typically very good at Monza. They were good in FP1 and FP2, but took a step back in FP3. And is that enough for us to run them or hold them for another week?
Yeah, I think FP3 was really the wake-up call from FP2 because there was a lot of, okay, if Williams can be like this, 100% it could be like an Aston Martin Hungary play. But it's straight back to reality of, okay, it's so close. It could happen. And they've got the best experienced drivers to make it happen in a grid that's close like that for BTA constructors. However, pace-wise, it's not crazy difference. I'd also like to add, because I've seen quite a few comments on it, anyone thinking of taking a -10 for a B-tier driver switch, never worth it.
Agreed. You need that driver to get 10 points more than the driver you're replacing him for. And even in the case of if you're bringing in Hadjar with the -10 because you want to nail that 0.6 million price increase, you're right at the limit of how much that price increase is worth to you in terms of points. So I would try to get in there a cleaner way than taking -10. A lot of comments already in the chat about bringing in Ferrari. I like this move so far. A lot of you are considering double tier A drivers versus double tier A constructors. Whenever that's a question, I always go double tier A constructors because of the teammate points in Q3, because of the pit stops. You'll always get more that way.
I just have to give a slight bit of be careful when going over to these Ferrari teams. Not if you're going to just Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari, plenty of money to throw about. Your budget's not going to be taking too much of a hit because at the end of the day, if you're going for Ferrari, we're going for points. Like we're not getting any budget from them, and we know that. But that's why I want to be careful because there are 4A teams out there which on points are absolutely phenomenal, but you could get stuck in a hole for the next few races. So if you have a team that's got Piastri, Leclerc, McLaren, Ferrari, sounds great on paper, and probably one I'm looking at as well. But then if it consists of someone like Colapinto, Gasly, and then Lawson, just be so careful because you could be taking a negative hit to your budget. And I know we talk about points being so important now, and they are. I completely agree, but not to an extent of getting negative budgets. You still need to have 1 or 2 0.6 millions going on just to balance it out.
It's a great point. And it makes me think back to Andrew, last year's champion. Advice he gave us throughout the season is if you can afford the next step up of your lineup, but you need to run 3 of the very back markers to make it happen, you're probably not ready yet. Give it a little extra time. Hakan, I know you're looking for Terry. He's running a few minutes late, but I get the sense he'll be on in just a little bit. So sit tight. He'll be here for you. All right. Are there any questions we haven't covered off this week? Hakan wants to know wild card this week. I would say it depends on if you're moving into a 4 tier A lineup. If you're taking a -20, absolutely. If you're taking a -10, I'd say probably because you'll ride out that 4 tier A lineup for a while and not need to take another transfer penalty. So I'd be fine with it. If you're just moving around your team and you're going to get into a 4 tier A lineup later, I'd hold.
That's sort of where my mind was on it because, yeah, especially if you went to a basic 4A build of having maybe still a Mercedes in there and you wildcarded to that, I'd be a little bit worried because there's still a lot of improvements you have to go towards. But at the end of the day, the main team we're all pushing towards is either a Norris, Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes, or a Piastri, Leclerc, McLaren, Ferrari types teams. If you're close to those teams, realistically, it's not going to change much for the rest of the season. So yeah, that's where wildcard 100% very much doable.
Great question from Lannister in the chat. Hold Lawson and roll a transfer or bring in Sainz. I want to come over to the Sims here. And I have an opinion on this, but let's see if the stats play out with it. Yeah, so you can see Sainz a little bit more likely to go up in value this week. Williams looking a little bit sharper. You would need to bank on Sainz having a good score this week that would then carry him into some cost cap gains looking ahead to Baku. Lawson, meanwhile, has a 0 last time out, and that 10's going to fall off. So if he's on for a low score, like the current projections have, he's going to be hard-pressed to gain value looking ahead at Baku too. So you might actually not be saving a transfer if Lawson's automatically out in the next race. I'd say get Sainz in now.
I'm going to throw a little spanner in there and actually come back to what I've been thinking on. Yeah, where I would say don't do either of them. I would say just go to Hadjar. After seeing FP3, I think once the sims come out for after practice 3, it's gonna come in and it's gonna shake things up a little bit. Sainz isn't going to be as favored as he was. And I just think now, when we don't know for certain who's looking good and Hadjar's still looking half decent, Hadjar's got 33 points. He's going to be the driver we all want to bring in for Baku. Just bring him in now, play it safe. It's a B-tier driver. The worst case scenario that happens is you lose 10 points. It's not like getting wrong your 2 times at Zandvoort, you could say.
You know, I think you convinced me on it, Zach, because my logic for Sainz is hope he gets points and then he's a better cost cap gainer for Baku. Hadjar's already there. And the difference in points that you'll get between them is probably negligible unless Sainz does something really crazy, finds himself in P6, P7. So maybe you do just make it with Hadjar now.
My bad. Yeah, he's already got Hadjar. That's why.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
There you go. Then it's probably is Sainz then.
It also splits up your exposure. If anything, if VCarb's not on it and you have exposure to both drivers.
Hello, Terry.
Oh, hello. Breaking news. We've got Terry. Hakan's going to be so happy that you're here.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out my team.
Same. Aren't we all, dude? Aren't we all? Red Lantern says, I'm on a curse with Sainz every time I pick him. He does terrible. That is me with Pierre Gasly. Not getting a Christmas card.
Or Lando Norris.
Yeah. We were just talking about that too. We're 0 for 2 on Lando.
Absolutely.
All right. Hakan's been waiting for you, Terry. So let's ask his question here.
What was Hakan's question?
Would you rather have 4 A tier assets with Piastri and Russell with the same okay B tier drivers, or Leclerc instead of Russell and then having the worst B tier Alpine? Just reading to the end of that, I started getting nauseous. No Alpine.
Yeah. It was going well until you put Alpine on it.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
All right. One other thing I want to show you before we start getting into more questions in lineup, the latest betting lines. The same 2 are always at the top here. Basically a coin flip between the 2 McLarens. This is the highest I've seen Charles Leclerc in a very long time. Contending, obviously, for the second row, but with a good toe, like Zach and I mentioned earlier, could displace one of the McLarens on the front row. So that could be a huge week for him. If you have this big budget like Zach does, and you can run a 4 tier A lineup with Leclerc, that's as good as it gets. But promising for Ferrari that Lewis Hamilton is now firmly in the top 10 to give him that toe and to help the Ferrari constructor. You still have both Williams clinging on to the bottom of the top 10. And then, interestingly, both Saubers just outside the top 10, maybe nipping at the heels of some points for some cheaper assets. Terry, let me ask you, one of the debates we've had coming out of FP3 is that Williams seemed to be on the back foot a bit compared to the results we saw yesterday. Where do you see them? Do you see them in their typical Monza form in the points, or did FP3 show you something that gives you pause?
No, I think they'd be in the points, but I think it goes back to that. Yeah, we keep saying it's about having both of them, don't we, as a constructor? I toyed with the idea of putting Williams in, but I don't trust both drivers again. And we keep seeing this continuously all this season where you'll get one or the other very rarely. I mean, there's probably been a couple of occasions, hasn't there? But very rarely do we seem to get a double points Williams this season. It seems to be all or nothing for him. So I think you're going to take a punt on the driver. It's probably a good option as a constructor. I think it's a dangerous move still. Sauber's form in FP3 really surprised me. I didn't really see where that come from. It wasn't there yesterday at all, to be honest. So I don't know what they've done overnight in terms of their setup, but they certainly found something overnight for sure. I think Williams was just more around data gathering, long-term running, that side of things.
I saw a tweet from Andrew right before we came on that says he's now tinkering with triple Sauber to allow him to run triple McLaren again. So there are definitely that was inspiring for some players.
Yeah, but again, I think that goes back to it, isn't that Sauber thing kind of feels like, again, you're going to have one or the other, Hulk or Bortoleto again. Very, very rarely will you get that double payoff from running them as a constructor. And to be honest, that's kind of what's put me off on the Ferrari constructor, if I'm honest. I feel good about Charles. I feel good about what he's going to do. But I've still got that doubts over, you don't get, obviously, the driver of the day points, all those kind of points for running Ferrari. Running Charles is a very different proposition to running Ferrari in my mind still. Yeah, it's kind of something which is still weighing up.
Terry, Race Maven must have really liked that response, because Race Maven is now a member. Thank you very much for your support. That's fantastic. One of the benefits of being a member, by the way, is that we'll look at your lineup a little bit earlier than everyone else's. So I'm going to refresh so we can take a look at Rick's. Rick joined as a member last week, and you can see we've got a few options here. We've got the double tier A, Ferrari or Mercedes. I don't think Ferrari is as doomed as Rick thinks. But
no, I'll pick him over Mercedes, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and then to Terry's point, you have to pick your favorite Williams driver, whichever one's going to show up this week. I'm leaning toward this first team. I don't love Carlos, but I do like that you have 3 cost cap gainers back here that will launch you into a 4-tier A lineup potentially for Baku. Roll the dice with Carlos. Hope he does okay. Alonso probably gonna get that 0.6 million gain, but Aston Martin looked to be marooned firmly at the bottom of the midfield this week.
Yeah, I think I agree there. It's definitely team 1 that looks the best out of the bunch. Because there's not much else you can do. It's a bit of a pickle. Because I'm assuming if you have Russell and Aston, that means where would you even go if you put Williams in there, even if that was a situation? So I think, 100% team 1 for me.
Terry, question in the chat about what your current rank is, because you are big winner amongst the 3 of us.
Let me have a look. Is it across the bottom? Hold on. Wait there. Aren't we coming now? There we go. 2,214. As if by magic. Thank you, Greg.
It's perfect. Right on schedule. Yeah, big gains for Terry and I last week with the autopilot that it moved the 2x off of Norris. Ended up being a big differential for us.
Absolutely. I mean, it would have been obviously, a really good week if Lando had, not had that problem. But even so, the moving the top score off was definitely something which was an inspired choice again, which has been quite good this season, actually. I think the chips I've used this week, I've actually had this year. I've had good effect on them. So there's not been many races where I've used one where actually I've gone that hasn't paid off or worked out, which I suppose is the optimum time to use a chip, isn't it? If you come out of the weekend a lot better, then happy days, isn't it? Then it's a good run, isn't it? So we'll take that.
Yeah, you've really nailed it, Terry. You think back, particularly the no negative. Zach and I saved 3 points on the no negative when we used it.
That was a brilliant no negative.
It's the difference between good ranks and even better ranks.
Yeah, I'm just toying with how to get out of this team. Do I burn a -10? How do I move out of this Aston Martin green machine that isn't really green machine at the moment, if I'm honest, around Monza?
So the warning Zach and I gave at the start of the show is think ahead to Baku. If you take a -10 now, make sure you don't set yourself up for another -10 next time out. Otherwise, it could get really, really hairy on you.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm thinking. Do I take a -10 and go all the way out of it? I saw somewhere where, was it Beast07 said, should I wild card to prevent a -10? I probably wouldn't for that. I'd say if you're -20, anything more than that is probably a good time. I think -10, you're probably still in a position to keep it, I think, still, with this late on in the season. So we've still got a fair bit of racing left. I think -10, you're kind of okay. I think anything more than that, my mindset, I haven't got wild card anyway. So, it's one of those where I can't wild card out. So anything I take is a minus. But I'm thinking in my head, a -10 is okay. Anything more than that, it starts getting into, is it really worth doing that? Or is it, do I just run with it for a week and slowly move out of it without sort of losing too many points to everybody else around me?
This is right at the edge of our use case for wildcard, because while we do preach that if you take a -10 this late in the season, you could use it, at the same time, if you're only in that Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari build, you're probably going to need wildcard for another -10 or even more when you move to that bigger team later on. So for this particular case, I would hold wildcard and use it for the 4 tier A build. If you're taking a -10 to get into a 4 tier A build, I'd lock and load on it.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same sort of thing, because the more I'm looking at the season ahead for F1 Fantasy, the more I'm seeing as well a pattern of, realistically, unless you are at the top team that we need to get to, it's looking like a -10's inevitable. No matter where you take it, you'll either be taking it in Monza, you'll either be taking it in Singapore, or you'll potentially be taking it after Kota once you have those sorts of things. Because we will be going back to the more norm teams, I guess I would say, because people's budget's going to go up and up and up. People are going to be able to afford better teams. So that's why I'm thinking taking a -10 is fine for now. Just make sure if you do take the -10, you're thinking ahead. Okay, if I take this -10, am I happy with this team in Baku? Because realistically, I'm sticking with this in Baku. But that's where Ferrari actually come in, because Ferrari tend to do very good at Baku. So I'm happy to, because that's what the -10 is most of the time going towards. I'm happy to take that -10 to go towards a Ferrari, because we're probably going to be sticking with them.
Couple quick questions from some members during that update from Zach. Rick says, would you do option 3 with Sauber and Leclerc instead of Aston Martin and Russell? To me, I think this crosses the line between having 2 tier A drivers and 2 tier A constructors. I usually pick the constructors just because you're asking a lot out of Sauber. They don't usually put both drivers into Q3. They don't do a whole lot on the pit stops. And that's probably the differentiator for me. What do you guys think?
We've got to be careful, because actually I want to get up last season's points for Monza, because like we've mentioned before so many times, on a low overtaking track, just be careful of those B tier constructors, exactly how much points they're going to give you.
Yeah.
Because
Great point. Because I think it was Ewan that shared it earlier this week. Last 2 years, everybody besides the top 4 constructors, I think the max was 20 points, but most of them didn't reach 20. It was usually Williams driving out of their skin that got to 20, and the rest were in the low teens.
So it's like, I do like that team, especially because it does get in Leclerc. And I think, at least for me, I'm pretty sure Leclerc is going to get driver of the day. If no shenanigans happen. So that is good. It's then the situation of, okay, are Sauber going to be within, what's the difference between a Leclerc getting driver of the day, let's say he gets 36 points, compared to a Hadjar probably going to get around 10 points. Is Sauber to Ferrari going to be 26 points this weekend? I don't think so.
Exactly. And you had made a good point on our recorded show earlier this week, Zach. As great as Isaac Hadjar was last week at Zandvoort, Max Verstappen, who had a good result but was pretty anonymous that whole race, was second in driver of the day voting. It's ceremonial to have someone in a home race for themselves or their team up in the driver of the day standings. Another question in the chat from our newest member, Race Maven. Thoughts on 3X this weekend?
Ooh.
I'm thinking still
sprint weekend.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. There's still so much time now. There's so much time. We've got 2-3 sprint races to come. Plenty of time to use it there. And there's still some good just overtaking tracks in general coming up as well, where extra DRS could be quite useful as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Gents, we're over 50 likes. Let's hit refresh.
Oh, we've lost Adam.
As he refreshed himself.
Adam's refreshing himself. Lost me and you. Oh, just me and you.
Well, I can answer a few comments while we're having all of this.
I have got an Isaac Hadjar update as well about his steward's decision.
Yeah.
Everyone looks with bated breath. He's only got a reprimand for it. So there is no action against Isaac Hadjar for the escape road incident for FP3 for failing to follow the race director's notice.
Right on cue. I said I was going to refresh and hit F5 to the window that I'm streaming on, and not the.
To be honest, we thought you like refreshing yourself or something. We thought it was like Adam just popped off, quick espresso. Off he goes.
Yes, I'm going to take a quick shower, get a little espresso.
Yeah, quick
freshen
shower,
myself.
hot towel.
All right, this is.
Sorry, wait. Can I just bring up
Sure.
a message from Adam? So, because this is actually quite an interesting one, because we were just talking about constructor over driver, but I think this one's actually it's tougher in person. Williams, Leclerc, or Ferrari, Albon.
Oof.
Because then you've also got to think about budget. Because no, actually, they'll give a similar budget, but that's a tough one.
See, Leclerc isn't going to go up in value much, is he? Let's be honest about it. It's more driver of the day and point scoring, isn't it? This weekend for Charles Leclerc is the potential rather than actual budget. And that's a big if, isn't it? He needs a good result to do that. But you should imagine that as long as it's a podium sort of thing, then that's it's almost kind of going to be in the same territory, isn't it?
The difference between Ferrari and Williams on the post FP2 sims is about 30 points. And so then what's the difference between Leclerc?
Oh, we've lost Adam again. Adam's F5 himself, isn't he? Look. Wow.
Can you hear me now? Am I here?
Well, I can hear you. See, and we've got a screen. So happy days. We're going
perfect. Okay. The difference between Leclerc and Albon here, 14-ish, 15 points. But then the difference between the constructors is 30-ish. So it leans toward the Ferrari constructor. But if Williams can really lock it both in, Leclerc gets driver of the day, and this becomes 33, that could be all you need to put it right in the wheelhouse to consider Williams and Leclerc.
Yeah, I'm going to ask everyone actually in the chat as well, because I think that is, I'd love to figure out what everyone thinks on that on a poll, because that is such a hard question to answer.
Ooh.
All right, let's check out some of these submitted lineups here. WD Ritchie looking at Aston Charles with Albon versus Albon, good tier B cost cap gainers in Ferrari. I just set my lineup, so I'm leading the witness a little bit, but I like the first team.
This is
Aston Martin look very anonymous. If we go to the betting lines, you got to come all the way down here to find Stroll and Alonso. So as individual assets that could probably get 0.6 million, I'm fine with them. But the constructor, you're looking at a pretty low score this week.
Yeah, I think I would skew more to team one. Yeah. Yeah, and like we said, I wouldn't take that -10 for a Hadjar. It's annoying because it is a good budget increase, but it's just at this point in the season, it's not worth taking a -10 just for budget. Like you actually, I'm pretty sure I did that at the start of the season, but not now.
Like it. All right, Race Maven, wild card to make this in 4 moves. Oh, this is the topic we touched on earlier.
Oh,
this is the same team. I think we have 2 of the same team here, right? I'm
gonna go off that the other team's a Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari team.
Yeah, that's what I would bet too.
I love that question in the chat, which said, "When are you locking your teams in?" I'm actually still doing mine whilst I'm saying.
Once we crank through this answer for Race Maven, I can show you mine. So consistent with what we were talking about earlier, I would say stick with McLaren, Ferrari over Charles and Williams, but we're a driver of the day away from this being really close. And Race Maven, if we didn't get your other option right, by all means, just shoot us a note in the chat. We'll come back to it.
I think I've seen it, Adam. If you check the chat, there's one in there for Race Maven. I'm sure I just saw one. Here
is what I'm going with, and I'm trying to play 3-dimensional chess in my head. Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari. I think that's something I've been harping on all episode. I wanted to make sure I locked in. Then I have a lot of leftover budget. How do I use it? Hadjar and Alonso are pretty much a lock to go at 0.6 million. Albon, I think he just needs to clean up a few points for 0.6 million. So he doesn't have to have a huge weekend, but I like him here. And then it's just a matter of I don't want to take a -10 to move Hülkenberg out for someone else. He was just on my team the last few weeks. So don't love Hulk here. So I'm just keeping my fingers and toes crossed. He clings on to some points at the back end of the top 10.
Can I ask why you went for Piastri over Lando? Is it budget?
Vibes mostly, vibes and budget. So
Yeah,
yes,
no,
I could have had Albon, it's like say Signs here instead of Albon, and then Norris up here. That budget would have worked out. But then as I move into a 4 tier A lineup, it's just one more bit of gymnastics I have to do because I'd have to get back into Piastri for it.
Got a new member.
Oh, welcome, Brian.
Ryan Clark.
Easy.
Oh,
Welcome aboard.
I will say, Adam, if you wanna, I'm pretty sure I scheduled it for now. Hopefully it's gone out. Do you want to have a look at my team? My team, I
know what's going to happen here. Zach is going to start flaunting his big budget on something I can't possibly afford.
Yeah.
There it is, right on schedule.
It's juicy. It's juicy.
4 tier A with Leclerc and Ferrari. This is the dream, everybody. You want to be at 129, 130 million.
And it's just that one key issue there, that little -10. But from doing the maths, from thinking ahead, from double checking I have enough budget increases on my team, like a Hadjar, like a Bortoletto, it looks like this is usable. And I don't think it's going to be a 10-point gap between Williams and Ferrari. So it's worth going up to Ferrari from Williams, because basically that's my team. It just would have been Piastri, Norris, McLaren, Williams, or Piastri, Leclerc, McLaren, Ferrari. I think that's worth it.
Zach, question from Jan in the chat. Is it worth a -20 to go to this team?
If Charles wins a race, yes. I'll tell you Monday.
I don't think it's worth a -10 to get there, because a -20 to get there, because I'm assuming that means if it takes a -20 to get there, you're probably changing one. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're probably changing one of the B tier drivers. So I would say just stick with whatever you had and just hold it out.
Unless it was something where you have Lando here and Aston Martin here, you got to get into Leclerc, and then you have to have a cheaper driver back here to make that work. And you only had 2 transfers going into the week. That could be another way, but -20, I probably draw the line unless you really think Leclerc's getting driver of the day and at least P2.
Yeah. I mean, and it comes back to what I was talking about at the start of this live stream. I believe, where was it? Where Michael mentioned Colapinto. You got to be careful, because the reason I am doing this team is because I know I'm not stuck in a hole. Hadjar will get me that 0.6 million increase. I have an extra 0.4 million in the bank. Bortoletto is probably going to go up 0.6 million as well. Lawson, we'll see. So yes, Leclerc and Ferrari look bad on taking a negative value hit, but I'm keeping it good with the B tier drivers. I worry about that if you go with Colapinto, because then you're stuck there. You're stuck. Just be careful with that.
Right on schedule with this question from Youssef. I can go with McLaren, Ferrari, Piastri, Leclerc, but with Colapinto.
There you go.
So Zach says 2 thumbs down to that one.
I've got mine in Adam as well.
You locked yours in, Terry.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen here with Terry. Is there going to be a Max Verstappen in the middle of nowhere?
No, it was tempting.
Oh, yeah. Very similar to what I've got going on here.
It is. That one gets me out of a mix without actually occurring any minus or anything. So that's literally my 2 transfers has pivoted me out. So I'm quite happy with that. And same as you, Adam, Hulkenberg's in there because it would have been a -10 to take him out, which kind of didn't feel like it was worth taking a minus for it.
And so it looks like, Terry, you're going with some of the budget builders here instead of a Williams. And that might sort of silently answer the question of did Williams scare you off after FP3?
Yeah, I'm going with the budget builders and Ferrari's points because I think it's just worth more. Like I keep saying, I don't trust both Williams to get in the points. So them as a constructor scares me off, even though that triple McLaren was tempting, or even, I mean, I have got a final fix if I need to. I could potentially bring someone in, and I suppose there's a hell of a. I've got 7.8 million still left on the bench, so I could do pretty much anything with a final fix if I wanted to.
That's a great point.
Which might be an option still, to be honest. With
Leclerc on pole from a toe
absolutely.
From Hamilton, then all of a sudden it gets dicey.
Exactly. So yeah. So for me, that got me sort of back into what Adam was saying earlier without burning any minuses or anything like that. So I thought that was the safest play.
All right. Red Lantern's at 128.3. So solid budget there. What do I do with this going into Monza? Only 2 free transfers.
Very similar to what I had, to be honest.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Apart
basically,
from
if you follow the
train-
mold from Terry and
Yeah.
I, you upgrade Mercedes to Ferrari, bring Russell down to whatever you think is most helpful. I think I have Albon in this spot. You could. I wouldn't take the
I
minus
went
10 to do double
Hadja
upgrades.
mainly for the budget gain as well. If I'm honest, when that one opened up, I had a free slot, so I went actually, even though I've got the money to go other drivers with how Isaac's performing and the 0.6 million, it made kind of sense to slot him into there from that point of view.
And to Zach's point earlier, he's a shout for 0.6 million each of the next 2 races, so you won't be burning a transfer on him.
Is there a way with 128.3 to go Mercedes to Ferrari? So is that what we were talking about? Mercedes to Ferrari and Alonso to Hadjar? Was it? Or was it Russell to Hadjar?
I don't think we can get all the way to Russell Ferrari by downgrading here.
No, I think the same problem I had. You're just too short. I had
okay.
Because that's really similar to my budget, to be honest. And I think I had the same problem. You just can't do it. You're probably a week too short from doing it, to be honest. Because I thought the same thing. I think it would mean bringing in a Colapinto or someone to be able to do it, rather than you'd have to get rid of Alonso and do it that way. It's probably the only. There you go, Red Lanterns and the same. Yeah,
Just shy.
Yeah. I think the budget is really similar to what mine is. I'm on that cusp where you just can't do it. It's really annoying.
It all comes back to, are you leading into points or leading into cost cap gains? You should have the likes of Hadjar here, get that 0.6 million, and then you can lean into a team like that in the future.
That was where my thinking was as well. Just that bit of gain from those should hopefully be enough to keep the points going, where you've still got enough in there to keep in touch with people around you, but also with the budget gain, you can then make that switch, as Zach's just shown with his budget. That's the move you want to go to as quick as you can. So what you don't want to do is burn all of your points to get to that and leave yourself exposed that way. But if you can find a way to just put those in there, Simon's put Hadjar Albon, I went for the budget gain, knowing that actually for me, Isaac's going to score some solid points. I'd say he's going to be very similar performance to Alex Albon, almost definitely. So for me, the upside is you've then got that budget gain as well.
Hadjar for me too. I agree. Interesting slate of teams here from J Champion. Very similar to all of us last week. Triple McLaren with Aston Martin. This week, kind of the Zach light lineup, because it's Piastri, Leclerc, McLaren, Ferrari with Colapinto.
Damn Colapinto.
Or keep with the triple McLaren and Williams. Colapinto is to save a transfer. So you probably could get into the Zach with a minus 10.
It's just, it's so annoying because, like, also, actually, I quite like the Leclerc ×2. I'm not doing it, but it's way too risky. But I like it as a differential play.
I like that.
I like
that. Won't do it, but I like it.
That looks on someone else's team, is what he's saying. Looks great on your team.
It just worries me when we look, because just knowing that you've only got Bortoletto, that's realistically a high chance of going up 0.6 million. Where let's actually like think about this and go to Baku. You're in Baku and you have this team. Colapinto's dead on arrival. He's not going up anywhere. You're sort of stuck on him. Where do you go? Sainz has probably gone up to 5.9. You can't afford him now. Hadjar's gone up to 6.3. You can't afford him now. You can afford Gasly, but that's what I'm talking about. Just be careful, because on points it will be great. But when you put in Colapinto this side in Baku, the only replacement, unless a DNF happens, is going to be Gasly. And then you're going to be stuck with like what we had in 2024 with the Sauber pair, but with the Alpine pair of just having Gasly and Colapinto at 4.5 million, where maybe you're okay with that, but your team's going to struggle to improve upon there.
It's a great point, Zach. You would be stuck next week. So you've got to really love this core of these four. Maybe as an alternative, then you could downgrade Leclerc to a Russell and then allow you to get into a cost cap gainer back here. You could also, now you bring it full circle, come all the way back to a triple McLaren build and just hope that Lando can cover the gap between Williams and Ferrari. It'll be tough.
Can I throw a spanner into the works?
You always do.
Yeah, true. Franco's FP3 result wasn't actually that bad, and nor was his last time out.
It was his highest fantasy score of the season last time.
Ooh.
Bear in mind, we're now in the tracks that Franco knows as well.
We're also going to the part of the circuit that Franco spent in the barriers last year.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, we've tarred Franco and right, so his performances haven't been there, but we are in the realm of where he was racing for Williams. And bear in mind, this is the start to his Williams career where he picked up quite a few points to start off with and was quite strong at a track like this, which the car suited, as being proven this year as well. So are we dismissing Franco based on what's happened, not actually current form? Yeah, looking at Team 2 there, actually.
We are. Well, actually, I say we. I am definitely.
but no, I'm paying. Rick says it's a worse. It is, but then he's getting his best performances, and if he's in there, if you're in there purely to build that second team and not take a -10 and do that, actually, if Franco gets some results and potentially, what if he end up in some points, then it's not the worst decision in the world. He's at the floor in terms of the budget.
I guess, it does.
What I'm saying is, would you keep that second team? Would you keep that second team or take a -10 just to move Franco out? Looking at the last race here and that thought process I'm not too sure I would take a -10 to move Franco out.
No, I wouldn't as well.
Yeah. I'm looking at that second team thinking, do you know what? Actually, I might take a gamble on that and save the -10 on based on those things. Yeah, and that's a really good point. If Franco doesn't crash, we see him rising in a few races as well from that. It's a gamble, but then is that putting Charles Leclerc in as your 2 times driver is a gamble, isn't it? So if you're gambling, you might as well go all in, haven't you?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, from a thought process.
One other thought here: you would be stuck next week, but Charles Leclerc won't be. While Ferrari will be fast, that driver of the day potential and top 3 potential for Leclerc might not be quite the same. You could downgrade him to Russell and then get yourself out of one of these 3 guys, depending on cost cap situation. Or
exactly. Yeah. So you've got enough there with your 2 transfers to pivot out of that if you need to.
I would actually like to add to this. I'm actually backing the wrong opinion to what I was originally saying, but I've just got over to the 2024 stats again, just to put a little bit of juiciness onto this. Colapinto got 11 points last season at Monza. He needs 10 to go up 0.6.
Was this his debut last year, Monza?
Yeah.
Zandvoort was obviously Logan's last race, so yeah.
All right. Yeah. I want to muscle through a couple more lineups here because we can debate Franco Colapinto.
We've got some questions, some interesting questions about 4 BAT drivers as well when we come to them.
Oh my goodness. Here's our newest member, BZ. Brian wants to know 2 options for Eau Rouge. Lando out, Alonso out, Aston out. So far I'm with you. Albon and Hadjar and Ferrari in. This is very similar to what I'm running here. And then it's just a matter of leave Alonso or take Alonso out for Hadjar and a -10. Oh, that hurts.
I would keep him in there for the -10. Same reason we've kept Hulk in there, to be honest, Adam. I think it's the same sort of process. Yes, you'll get the budget gain, but actually Alonso isn't
not too far away from a budget gain either.
Yeah, and not the riskiest of driver. And bear in mind, we're one stopping around here potentially. So actually, if Fernando can do something with the tyres, and there's a safety car something to pay him into play, then you wouldn't rule out of the 2 Aston Martin drivers, Fernando, keeping it in a pace where he could capitalise on it.
All right. Gritty. 2 free transfers. Which team to go with? I'll tell you right now, a double Alpine team is absolutely a no for me.
A double Alpine and George is kind of risky for me.
I'd say team in the middle.
Team in the middle.
2 Saubers nipping at points. Albon should be fine for a cost cap game with Alonso. Bortoletto, Alonso. Albon for cost cap. Ferrari for the points.
Yeah. I agree. Team 2's the main team to go for if you want to play it safe and the way it looks like it's going. Team 2's the differential. And the more I look at Team 3, ouch. I just think that means you're 1 week too early on the 4A builds.
Yep. Exactly.
Debating Limitless as well at the top there.
Oh, yes. Please
don't debate Limitless.
Do
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Especially because think about it. If this is your team from last week, you could have, you'll have 3 assets go up in all likelihood 0.6 million.
Yeah, I would. I think the top 5 are pretty much there, aren't they?
Yeah.
You've got your
Lewis
two
Limitless then.
McLarens, you've got Charles, you've got Max, and then you chuck probably George in there, wouldn't you? Or well, George or Lewis is probably the big debate, isn't it? Into the last one.
It is. I think more teams are would roll with George long term after that, but Lewis is.
Yeah, I just think if it's Limitless, you might be inclined to go for Lewis.
Oh yeah, we were saying that at the top of the show, right? At the end of a Limitless team, Verstappen, Hamilton over Russell.
Yeah, I would. And based on Ferrari looks strong around here. I mean, we know they build their car for Monza, don't they? Let's be honest about it.
They sure do.
I'm sure they test. I'm sure they test around here with road cars or something, to give them a good idea what's going on. The Monza spec comes out.
Yanmar is nipping at the heels of some of these 4 Tier A lineups at 129.3 million, but a -20 to rearrange your team into the Merclair, as we said at the top of the week. I'd say probably a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, Team B. I mean, I like Team B because it's what I've got.
If I do say so myself.
I'm not like Zach. I don't wish everyone else's team looks better.
I would say, 3 gainers here. You can do this in pieces. If you have 129.3 million, you're probably keeping a few million on the table, and then use your 2 free transfers to get out of Hulkenberg and Alonso to then get into perhaps Russell with Ferrari for Baku, and then a very cheap driver as your last spot.
See, that made it sound like when I locked my team in, I had all that thinking process in. I didn't, by the way. But it sounds good.
We've had a couple of messages, actually, which could be a quite little fun thing to do. Really asking where we would rank the B tier drivers. So we've got that question, and if we had to pick 4 B tier drivers, which ones would we do?
All right, so B tier drivers. I think Hadjar, because he's so certain to get 0.6 million. He looked really good last week. VCarb is right outside the top 10, so he could get some more points this week, and he'll be probably a lock for us for Baku. He's pretty high up there for me.
Mm-hmm.
We seriously got the Sims out after we've all just locked in our team. That could be disastrous, couldn't it?
Classic writer.
Brilliant.
Locking our teams. But then after that, you have Alonso, combination of points and cost cap gain.
I think my top 4, again, it depends on where you're starting with your team. But like if you're going on my personal favorite top 4, it would be Bortoletto, Hadjar, Albon, and Alonso, but no one would have all of that. Yeah.
Rick's gone with that. I'll probably go with that. Rick's gone for Hadjar, Bortoletto, Alonso, and Albon. I'd kind of go for that.
Just looking really quickly at the latest Sims just to make sure there's nothing shocking. Let me come over and refresh here so we can all.
Oh my word!
I'm still seeing 74%.
Hold your breath, everybody.
Minus 0.3 for Leclerc.
No, we're looking okay here. So Ferrari, for those of us considering a Ferrari build, still in the 60s. Everybody else still in the 20s and below. So consistent with what we've been saying all show. And as we come down the expected points here. Yeah, there's Leclerc. I think he'll be in the 30s because fastest lapper driver of the day. I think will be inevitable for him.
Considering mine says I should bring Yuki in instead of Hadjar, I can't go with my gut feeling if I'm honest.
Do we know Yuki's history at this circuit? 2 DNSs, a DNF, and like a P14.
I just read what the Sims say. I'm quite happy with picking Isaac Hadjar over Yuki Tsunoda if I'm honest.
And then you've got the likes of Hadjar and Alonso getting a handful of points, and then it looks like a Alpine, Haas, and then Lawson sort of just trundling around the back with Bortoletto. Probably starting in the teens, ending in the teens, and just being flat. So, okay, no big changes there.
Interestingly, that question. So, Vesta's put winning. Colapinto or Lawson at 113.5. Franco's due to go up better points than what Lawson is. Ironically.
Wow.
If I'm looking at the Sims right.
Where are they? Ooh.
Which is quite, going back to my previous point.
This feels like flip a coin for me.
Oh, Yusef's gone for Franco.
I do wish you luck.
I do wish you luck.
I wish you.
To be honest, it's based on that. Let's be honest about it. It is based on that.
This is a low DNF circuit. 3 DNFs combined in the last 2 years, and 2 of them were Yuki.
Did you just say that? You can't say that on a live show. that's like the worst thing ever.
I won't even mention the streak that Oscar Piastri on.
No.
All right, let's hit a couple more lineups really quick. This is MP3-age. Very similar to the things we've been talking about here. Looks like you're saddled with Franco either way. This is double Williams. This is getting Hadjar in for the points.
I would go for the third one for the points and only having one Williams.
Yeah, I like the cost cap here, the 3 of them. But let's see what Zach says.
Yeah, agreed.
If you're going with Franco anyway, and I would go. I'll go the third one.
Wow. There's a lot of budget left out though on the third one.
But there is anyway. I mean, mine was saying like 7 million sat on the sidelines. There's a lot of budget.
Hear me out. Is because Hadjar and Sainz are the same price. Why not Hadjar over Sainz and keep Albon
Here? Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I guess it depends on where you're trying to get to. Because like I've always said, Albon's not a good driver to keep in your team if you're trying to look into the 4A builds.
Just they have Albon. Just looking at it. I suppose it depends who you had, didn't it? To start off with. I mean, that's the one thing. Unfortunately, doesn't tell us, does it? Because looking at that, I would think that they had the team on the left almost with that triple McLaren Aston Martin. I would say that's pretty much what they started with, judging from what the rest of them started with. I wouldn't think that was a lineup you're going to select. I think that's more of that's what I've currently got. Do I stay with that and then move into the other two?
I think that might be Michael Page's team because he just replied not enough transfers. So it might just be a matter of maybe having Sainz in a previous race.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Michael's got Sainz, so I'm sure he'll tell us in the comments. But looking at it and looking at the teams on there, I think that the 2 transfers very similar to what we had to get out of the Aston and the Lando move. Only leaves you with a couple. If that's the case, Michael, I'll go the one on the right and bring in Isaac and get that little bit of cost cap in there.
Team 3 it is.
Yeah. There you go, yeah. Yeah, exactly the same problem we had.
Is there anybody left?
What, in the world or just on the lineups?
In the world, yeah. Look at Team 3, the 2X on Leclerc. There's a couple of options here, all McLaren, Ferrari, and then it's just a matter of fine-tuning it.
That 2X on Charles looks risky, doesn't it? That's one of those which just is either going to pay off like tenfold, or it's going to just make you cry like Lando last week, isn't it? It's one or the other. You're going to be crying tomorrow, either with happiness that you made a good choice, or just crying because it's Ferrari.
If you've got a team here where it looks like maybe you can't quite afford a 4-tier A lineup in the near future, maybe you're just trying to get those differentials to sort your way back up the standings, I can see this team working. For those of us that have a lot to lose potentially, if Leclerc has an issue, I like this middle team.
Yeah, so you know what? Yeah, I get what you're saying because they've said their team's 116.2. Realistically, that team's going to start struggling to keep up with the top ranks. So I wouldn't advise to do it like out of it just because Piastri is probably still going to get points, but I understand the thoughts behind it because it's like throw everything out and just go for it.
Hail Mary.
Yeah.
It's a Hail Mary, isn't it? But a Hail Mary of Charles Leclerc in Monza and a Ferrari isn't the worst Hail Mary I've seen through.
No.
And that I think is a point, isn't it?
A Ferrari has been the highest scoring fantasy asset at Monza each of the last 2 seasons.
Just quickly answer Hakon's question about Hadjar over. I went for the budget game. Over pure and simple.
Terry's all about the balance.
Yeah, to be honest, it is that little bit like Zach was on about earlier in the show. I was literally just short of changing it. So if I can just get that bit of extra budget, I think it'll just unlock a bit more. So yeah.
Yeah. We have just had, I believe they're called super chats.
Oh, what?
From Race Maven.
Oh.
Good
There's
luck,
a big
everyone.
blue streak across my screen. Yes, it is. Good luck, everyone. See you.
Flag.
Thank you for coming, Race Maven. And thank you for the super chat.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Thank you for changing the colors of the screen. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I thought I had done something wrong again. I saw new colors.
Adam thought you pressed something incorrect. He thought he was highlighting something.
I'm the team boomer. I'm sorry.
We are at 75 likes. Can we get over 100 again?
Come on.
We did it last weekend.
How many people are watching? 74.
We've still got 190 at the minute.
So we've got 190. So 25 likes. Come on. Out of the people who are here, that's all of you. It's just a button. It's not costing you. Just click it.
DVS.
Our Morales. I just want to knock out this last one before we go back to questions for the last 5 minutes. I would say middle lineup, no penalty versus basically it's Lawson versus Hadjar for a -10. I would say this point.
Yeah, I don't think the -10 to move to Isaac is worth it, to be honest. Liam's just as capable of putting a good performance in here, to be honest.
Yeah.
Fine enough. All right, we'll come back here. Let's run through some questions in the chat.
Oh.
Ooh. Let's see. Is there anybody's question we haven't answered yet and you're still on the fence about this week?
To be fair, we got 2 back-to-back ones about Mercedes because we just basically haven't talked about them. The gist of it is,
What, Mercedes? Mercedes is a constructor. Kimi is that unknown. George looks like Mr. Invisible, as per usual. Will be somewhere around in the points, potentially sneak a podium. Kimi, home race expectation. I'd say, based on what we've seen from Kimi so far, he's probably still a worry for me here. He doesn't look like he's as comfortable as what he could be. I think the problem with Kimi is going to be a great driver, but I think he's learning. He's learning in the very public eye of Mercedes. There's a lot of expectation on him. There's a lot of eyes on him, like there was before in Imola. And I think that he's very young, and I think we've got to remember that. I think I said it early on in the season. We're going to see very much a yo-yo season for Kimi, and that's what we're getting so far. A very up and down. Flashes of brilliance like the podium in Miami, and then flashes of frustration like we saw in FP2 with him. So it's which one's coming, isn't it, really, this weekend? And it's a big unknown.
I hope for his sake it's a get-right weekend. You think about Monza last year, he made his debut in FP1 and put it into the wall. I hope in front of his home crowd, Kimi really just gets it right for Mercedes. As far as do we think it will happen? When we look at the betting lines here, they've got him right at the bottom of the top 10. So a bit back behind George.
Yeah, I think points. I'd say George, I feel, will be in there amongst it. George is this season's Mr. Invisible for me. He can go a whole race without anybody talking about it and then suddenly pop up on a podium. It's quite staggering how he keeps doing it, if I'm honest, just from a consistency point of view. But I suppose you'd say that's a sign of a good, consistent driver. He's always there in and around the areas to capitalise if there's a problem. That's making the most out of a Mercedes package, which isn't as strong as it could be. So I think he keeps in touching distance and is able to capitalise if there's a safety car or something in his favour. Do I see Mercedes having the pace to challenge the podium? No. But do I see a safety car suddenly bringing George Russell into play? Absolutely. It's the best way around it. And with the lack of overtaking here, definitely.
Alonso or Sainz from Hakan? My guess says Alonso.
Yeah.
Same hit.
Joe says, let's go Ferrari. Yes,
on the Ferrari train. We're all on the Ferrari train.
It can only come up from last week, Joe. So let's go Ferrari.
Let's hope it doesn't take a derailing like last weekend.
I don't even remember anything from last weekend.
Nothing
happened, right?
Exactly. We've forgotten all about it.
You know.
Terry, I want to go off topic for a question. What is a bigger surprise to you, Pierre Gasly's new contract or Pierre Gasly's new hairline?
They're both exceptional, if I'm honest, and unexpected. So for me, it was a real shock this morning. There was no whispers of it, genuinely nothing. I mean, I get Alpine press releases. There was no hint of it. It came through literally 5 minutes before they broke it to everybody else. There was no whispers of it. I thought he would have played the market a bit, if I'm honest. His contract was long enough to take him into that new regulations, to play, to see what's happening with all the other teams, see how Mercedes come on board. So it was a bit of a shock, if I'm honest, to see him commit for that long. But he obviously likes what he sees. It kind of makes you line up with the good noise about Mercedes engines as well. So I get why he's done it. It must be very lucrative for him as well. So from that point of view, whatever Alpine have paid him to stay there, I would imagine that he would have been in a strong position to negotiate now. So I think he's capitalised on the uncertainty around Alpine and drivers and all the other bits to get a good deal out of them for a long term. So yeah, it's one of those. They were both a shock, but I can see why he's done it. He's out there and he's their number one driver. And with a Mercedes engine, if they get the chassis right, it could turn out to be inspired, couldn't it?
Well, on that note, we've reached the top of the hour, so it's time to get over to qualifying. Another hectic hour for us. Again, thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll be back for Baku to get you ready for the next race and move up those rankings.
Good luck.
Take care, everyone.